Okay, it's Tisha afternoon, and we're going to speak today about the topic of Sinas Chinam. But a little bit of Akdoma before we get to that. I just want to make sure we're broadcasting here. Okay, it looks like we're online, and I hope you can all hear me. And we're going. First, I wanted to start with a kind of an amazing album, which I didn't come across myself today, but I was listening to Rabbi Leff from Eretz Yisrael, and he brought down this album in on the Al Naros Bavel in Tehillim. By the way, there is, if you go to the if you would like to chat, you're welcome to chat on the side here. But in any event, the Malbim on Al Naros Bavel says that Al Naros Bavel is not talking about at the time they went into Golus, but it's talking about at the time they were already in Golus for 70 years. And it says that they said Al Arvim B'Socha Hagam Shel one of the Bavel called Tarugim Harivim Banimin Laguf. In Bavel we had all the pleasures of the body. The Chozos, nevertheless, Al Zeh Batzmotli L'Kurosenu, because we had all the pleasures of which we wanted in Bavel. That's why we hung up our hearts. We tried not to be too happy with this goodness which we enjoyed. And it was for a mourning for us that the land of the enemy was full of such pleasantness and was so wonderful. It was a Gan Eden, the land that the city of God was destroyed. And then it goes on to say, Kisham Shalenu Shavenu Divrei Shiur. And that goes, our captors asked us to sing. And he says, because the minute in the olden days was that you would sing songs of the praise of the land in which you found yourself. And they asked us to sing songs like the songs you sang in Sion. Please sing to us those songs of praise of Sion that you had. Sing us similar songs now, because now you are here and you're enjoying yourselves here as well. He says, now Bavel is for your land of the place where you live, the place you've taken hold. It's constantly and land of the Kasdim is your land. So why don't you sing about Bavel? Sing the same songs that you once sung about Yerushalayim. Sing about Bavel. So they answer, how can we sing the song of God on the land of the foreigner? In other words, you're right. We could sing these songs about our successes, our physical successes that we have here. Because here we have great successes. Shir Hashem, Shir HaKodesh, Shir Hashem B'Tzion, but the holy song of Tzion, that which has to do with HaKodesh and Nevuah and the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Torah Avodah, how can we sing them on the foreign soil on which we find ourselves? So it goes on in this vein. So it's interesting because it's very relevant to our day and age. We always think about ourselves. How are we possibly going to be Mitzapel Yeshua if we have things so well and so good and things are going so swimmingly for us in Chutz La'aretz? So then Bavel had the same problem. And in Bavel, the way they dealt with the problem was by remembering that the Shir Hashem is not possible at Mas Nechon. Until the base of Mikdash they built and the Gula Shlema comes, the Shir Hashem will not be complete. So long as you could sing, but not the Shir Hashem. So, of course, the question is why the base of Mikdash was destroyed and how we're going to rebuild it. And, of course, we all know that the reason is because of Sinas Chinam. What is Sinas Chinam? I had a conversation just yesterday evening and this morning, to continue the conversation with somebody who said to me, what's wrong with Sinas Chinam? There's nothing wrong with Sinas Chinam. It's perfectly good. Why? Because if let's say you have a young child and you want the young child to stay away from people who you don't want to influence him negatively, so it's hard to explain philosophically and thoughtfully what the difference is between you and that person. Why don't you stay away from them? The much easier way is to say they're different than us. We don't like them, and that's much easier because that way it can just keep your kid away from the other kid. And then he said to me, legitimacy in that. We dislike people other than ourselves because they are different than we are. Ashkenazim don't have to like Sephardim. Sephardim don't have to like Ashkenazim, and so on and so forth. People are different. Ashkenazim, from their perspective, can look down at Sfardim, and Sfardim, from their perspective, perhaps can look down on Ashkenazim. So this is actually a conversation which I've had in the over the time of Tisha B'Av this year, and perhaps in answer to this conversation, somebody hung up in or samech a sign about why we still need Tisha B'Av. That in a certain girls' camp a week or two ago, there was where everyone's getting along well. The counselor said she was a type of Hasidus. She gave her a Hasidus, and all the counselors said, "Oh, that's disgusting," and they even started throwing things at her. So we see that there is a notion of Sinas. But what exactly is Sinas Chinam? And in order to explain to my interlocutor, which we had this conversation, we're going to go into it in some depth and try to understand the nature of Sinas Chinam and how it takes effect and how it can be avoided. And in order to do that, we start with the Zohar HaKadosh. The Zohar HaKadosh is in Parashas Pikudei, and it is on page Reish Mem Gimel Amud Beis, and it also is actually starts at Reish Mem Amud Aleph and goes over to Reish Mem Gimel Amud Beis, and it also is in the Sulam in Siman Tov Mem Beis. It says previously talked about the Zohar talked about different types of anger, and therefore, this is we're up to the second type of anger. The second type of anger. This one comes down to the world. And it spreads. The whole citron, it goes out in all directions. The second type of anger is called anger. It comes down. Gets into people. The high came into our once it comes in. It's called the silent enemy. Nowadays, terrorist, right? So it's called the mischabla shtika. Va'iu ragza the shasik, and this is the silent anger of Kabbalah here. Va'iu dishtati bahu asa de nukva. It joins in that place which is the feminine, which means in the meaning of malchus, meaning that it undermines the meaning, the fact that it exists within a person, and it's obviously a very surreptitious and subtle way because it's within the person, in the goof of a person. And v'hai il rugza the shtika, the kaimu bakimun. This rogism shtika, this silent anger, it stands at a distortion. In other words, what that means is that everything is distorted by this type of anger, this type of perspective, and we'll come to explain that. This is more difficult than all other types of anger because it's like a serpent. The shadik tadir, the katil basar, but immediately kills. So it's always laying in wait. You don't notice it, and then it pounces on you and it poisons you. So we see here that sinah is considered to be the silent anger, not an anger which is outright and revealed and direct, and something which you can perceive, something people perceive about you, and even something which you can perceive about yourself. No, something which is subtle and below the surface of even your own personal cognition. Sinas Chinam is not something which you can actually necessarily tell about yourself. It's so silent and so secretive and laying there and wait to capture you. So what is the Sinas Chinam? So there's a beautiful passage in the Sir Otzar Tfilos, which I actually showed to my friend, and he found it very enlightening, and I hope you'll find it enlightening as well. And this is in the Sir Otzar Tfilos on the Al-Chetz of Yom Kippur. And Chetz of Yom Kippur, it speaks about there's a Chet of Al-Chetz Shalatana B'Fanecha B'Sinas Chinam. There's the sin which we sin before you with Sinas Chinam, with hatred for naught. And there's a commentator from the Dover Sholem. Dover Sholem was lived in Vilna in the second half of the 19th century. It's a very beautiful parish. It's one of my favorites. And he says, Sinas Chinam, and I will read and translate. This is the negative trait which removes a person from the world. Destroy the Beis Hamikdash. V'adayin merakeres b'neinu. It's still dancing among us. But we're so accustomed to it, as if it's embedded in the laws of nature. That even among people who are love each other and are friends with each other, they'll hate each other for no good reason. What are that? What happens? So the pathways of the other in his conduct, the more talented and the more successful they are, the more his friend will hate him. In other words, the more successful you are, the more successful, the more talented you are, the more likely I am to hate you. How so? We'll come to that in a minute. And I certainly hate you when you make more money than me. Even though the fact that you make more money doesn't have anything to do with me, doesn't make me worse off. It's not a zero-sum game. But I hate you because you have more money. The koshke masigo is a pair of kavod. Certainly, if you receive any type of glory or honor, me'amelech from the king or me'amah from the nation, shas tigdal sinasa, then I'm going to hate you even more. And we're so accustomed to this hatred that a person does not even feel that this is a very disgusting trait. But a person uses it all the time. But a person imagines that he's innocent of the sin of Sinas Chinam. He's not an enemy to any person. He doesn't know that this sin is in his soul every moment. Every craftsman hates his fellow craftsman. A merchant hates his fellow merchant when he makes money, when he's successful. The Talmid hates the other Talmid Chacham. If you give a better share than I do, or people listen to you more than they listen to me, I hate you. Because why? Come down. This hatred causes me to look for shortcomings, false shortcomings in your talent. So I can blame you for why I hate you. It's not true. It's not because of you that I hate you. The source of this hatred is because you are successful, the other person, and I hate you because of your perfection. Not because of whatever excuse I make up in order to claim that you deserve my hatred. And this hate comes from my sense of jealousy and my sense of personal honor. In other words, if I feel jealous of you, then I make up reasons to hate you. If I feel that my honor is impinged by having you being more honored and more respected than I am, I will make up reasons to hate you. That is the nature of human beings. And this kina, jealousy and pursuit of honor, also remove a person from this world. And this training of Sinas Chinam, under its wings, it gathers, it collects many negative traits. In other words, all the following traits are direct ramifications of Sinas Chinam. What are they? On its account, I'm happy when my friend has a fall, when he does not succeed. It's the German term for that, which does not translate well into English, is Schadenfreude. I am happy when you have a stumbling block. As many people know, one of my great Yetzaharas and one of the pleasures, which I've illicit pleasures which I enjoy in this world, is possibly people's erevin. And that is one of the negative traits of Sameach La'ed Chavero. Or if I get my honor by your denigration. And I rejoice when you make a mistake. I suspect falsely suspect people. I speak to say not true things about other people, which are negative. I say true things which are negative. And I bring strife between brothers and friends. And it caused me personally to refrain from connecting myself to people who are doing mitzvahs or in general are involved in good pursuits. Vabi's right, the related prohibitions, which are parallel to Sinas Chinam, Hinekima or affiliated, let's say. Nekima, revenge, Tira, bearing a grudge, Vakas, and anger. The Golda of Onshel Sinas Chinam, and the terrible nature of the sin of Sinas Chinam, Vanafer and its branches, Hamuvorim Lamala, which you just explained, it explains the words of the sages. Motias moves the person from this world. The Goremas Agolos and causes exile. Somebody causes murder. So it says if somebody hates their friend, Varavlo is going to lay an ambush on him. The Gomer. The Chomene Gainom Sholtim Bo, all sorts of purgatory, all sorts of affliction afflict the person who hates others. He's always afflicted because he's never happy, because he never has any self-reference. And if everything is in reference to other people, then he's never going to be happy. He gets stomach disease. Ulcers, we would say nowadays. The Shechina ain't chashuv negdo. And the Shechina is not significant to him. He doesn't care about the Shechina. He forgets his learning. Mosif Tipshus becomes more stupid. The Avanosam Rubim and his Averosim more than his merits. His demerits more his merits. It's as if he serves Avodah Zarah. He will not himself avoid a bitter end. The local roof is going to be afflicted in his body. And these are also the punishments of Lashon Hara, which is obviously, as we said, a related or affiliated sin. So, what's Sinas Chinam? Sinas Chinam means there's no reason to hate that person other than my own jealousy. My hatred of that person doesn't come because of that person. My hatred of that person comes because of who I am. If a person, ideally speaking, had the midah of hishtavus, of equanimity, in which they don't care about anybody else's successes, I shouldn't say don't care. They should be happy about the successes. Where the successes of the other people don't diminish their own sense of purpose and destiny and mission and success, so then there'll be no Sinas Chinam. But Sinas Chinam is a way in which we deal with our own emotions by deflecting them onto others. The Rabbi Yerson Eibshitz on the pasuk in Eicha, but he's nachmi shalom nafshi noshisi tova. He says there are two types of Sinas Chinam. Two types of sin, I should say. Nashisi nachmi shalom nafshi means where I don't like another person because they have positive value, positive traits, and that's one thing. And another one, Nashisi mitova, means that I don't like another person because they've done me favors, because they've been nice to me. And people hate being grateful. People hate being in debt. So therefore, in order to avoid being in debt, people generate Sinas Chinam. If they can find a reason to detest the other person, they don't have to be grateful to the other person. So from all this, we see that the notion of Sinas Chinam is one in which the sinner does not come because of that person or that person's traits or qualities. It almost never does. Sinas Chinam is because of my traits and qualities. And that's why it says, even Talmidei Chachamim can have Sinas Chinam, because if I feel I'm not accomplished enough, there are two ways to deal with that. One way is to accomplish more. The other way is to say, but I'm more accomplished than them because they are not as good as I am. So that is the way most people deal with this issue. How do we know it's most people? Because we're still in Golus. If it wasn't most people, we'd still be in Golus. There's an amazing, depressing Sfas Emes in this week's Parsha. Sfas Emes says that in Tafresh Nun Vav, he talks about the Tochacha, the rebuke, which was given by Moshe Rabbeinu in this Parsha. And then he goes on to speak about the language of Tochacha. It is a hochacha, a proof, a demonstration. And it demonstrates that nothing that you didn't fix your sin yet. He says, Chazal say Churban Bayis Sheni is more severe for us. Because when the second Beit was built, the chatoim which caused the previous Beit to be destroyed weren't fixed. It's a very depressing language. They haven't been fixed at all. Now, you could say maybe there's a typo here. And it says, we're supposed to say, they weren't all fixed, but that's not pshat. The pshat is, says the Sfas Emes, the Beis Hamikdash is not rebuilt, it's because we haven't fixed anything. Nothing is fixed. In terms of Sinas Chinam, we're the same, at least in 1896, as we were back at the time of the Beis Hamikdash. That's why it's so severe for us. So it's something which Klal Yisrael has not worked on properly. And it's a big problem. The Meshech Chochmah in Parshas B'Shalach, on the pasuk of Vamayim Lem Chama Miminam Mismolam, it brings down Chazal say that the word Chama, which means wall, is written Chaser, which means can be read Chema, which means anger. And there's a Chazal about that. Why there was this anger? Because of Pesel Micha, where the case was that they went through the Riyam not with proper approach. But then he talks about this difference between Bayis Sheni. He says, when we analyze the ways of Torah, near Rab, we will see. Kibbutz mitzvos, shimios, the mitzvahs which are given for a person to discipline them. In other words, the mitzvahs which you wouldn't necessarily automatically intuit from our own logic. The Avodah Zarah, the Arayos, where like idolatry and adultery, Yeshkoris, Skila, B'Shabbos, Malchus. There are all sorts of capital and corporal punishments. But it's not true. It's which make sense logically, which are part and parcel of having a good society. Kamo machlokas, lashon machlokas, such as a fight, divisiveness, lashon hara, rechilus, gezel. All those mitzvahs been on the ain't bo malchus. You don't get flogged for any of them. Either because you can make repayment, or because there's no deed, no specific prohibition which you're transgressing with them. But that's only when an individual does the sin. But if the community is corrupt, find the opposite concerning this in the Yerushalmi in Peah, which says, Doro shel David kulam tzadikim hayu. Generation of David were all tzadikim. By they show you them deal Torah, but since they were spoke Lashon Hara about each other, they fell in the war. Generation of Achav of the Zarayu, they were idolaters. By they show you them deal Torah, but since there was no strife among them, they would go down to war and they would vanquish the enemy. Amazing statement that Ramesh Chacham is about to make. If the community is corrupted by avodah zarah, by idolatry, and Arias adultery, and that it says, Hashochin yitam himself to Musam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu dwells with them, even in their tumor. He speaks to them. Avalim musios, but the mitzvahs which have to do with the proper relationships in Amachavero, Midos, Lashon Hara, Machlekas, and the attributes of Lashon Hara and divisiveness, Alzeh Kasuv, and then it says, plus with him, Rum al Shamayim, go lift yourself up into heaven. David Amel says to Hashem, remove your shkina from them. You shouldn't dwell with them in those situations. More than this, they said, Sheba Mikdash, the first place of Mikdash, over the Avodah Zarah, right? Shvichus Damim, they all did all the big three. Mikdash against mitzvahs which are necessary for society. So then okay, I'm sorry about that. I hope you're able to get back here. It says I'm still sending out the viewers, so I hope that worked. So I lost the call. Let me just check this actually broadcasting here.
All right, Sky, go ahead and eat your gumbo.
That's not what I wanted. Second, checking this works. Okay, looks like we're back. Somebody wrote here on the chat. Now I'm looking. Knowledge that all comes from Hashem can help us see Sinas Chinam, since it should be easy to be grateful to Him than to people. We're back. Okay, so it's true. All right, so let's go back to where we were. So we're dealing with the Meshech Chochmah. And the Meshech Chochmah said that averos of specific mitzvos are worse for the individuals, but so averos of midos are worse for the tzibur, and that's of course why the Dor Mabul was destroyed not because of the Avodah Zarah, which began already earlier, but rather because of their negative interactions with each other. So the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed not because the second time around, not because of Shfichus Damim. Therefore, it's a worse destruction because there is an aspect of Am Yisrael, as a nation, and the Beis Hamikdash is related to Am Yisrael's national mission and national purpose. Every person has a specific purpose for themselves as individuals, and if their specific purpose as individuals, the argument may be made, at least according to Meshech Chochmah, that their mitzvos are more significant than their midos. In other words, we judge them on the mitzvahs and not on the midos because they're individuals. But when you come to Am Yisrael, the totality of a nation, if that society does not function on a higher level, which is the Or LaGoyim, the light for illumination for all the nations, so then that's much more devastating than any specific averos. This dysfunction of society as a society is the most basic Chil Hashem which Am Yisrael can possess. That society does not work as a society. The nation is not a nation. Am Yisrael is not Am Yisrael. And the Shem Shmuel, the Sochat Trevor, makes this point in several places, 2 places specifically, which I'm going to speak about. One of them, both in Sefer Dvarim, and one of them is in Parshas Dvarim, at the end of Parshas Dvarim, on page Lamed. He talks about the pasuk. It says that in last week's parsha, how am I going to be able to bear on my own your travails, your burdens, and your arguments? So he says the minhag olam, as we know, is to to read this in the Tuna Megillah Eicha. And yet, the Medrash in Eicha says that 3 people gave Nevuah B'Lashon Eicha. And Moshe, Moshe, and Yahu, missing one. I don't remember the third one was. But anyway, so it says, and Moshe said, when they said Eicha, he saw Bnei Yisrael in their honor and in their tranquility. So the question is obviously, so why do you read that pasuk Lashon Eicha? If this Eicha is at the time when things were going well, so it shouldn't be read in the negud of mourning of Eicha. So of course, there are many answers one can give to that. But the way it's interesting the way he answers it here. He says, V'nira al pi divrei Maharal. He says, based on Maharal, he doesn't say where it is. Shepir halavavos should be Yisrael. The hearts in Am Yisrael are separate, are divided. Eino mitzad chisara. It's not when we hate each other. It's not because of how low and degraded and bad we are. No, and mitzad hamayla. When we hate other people, it's because we're great, we're special, we're on a higher level. How is that? Asher b'asher heim sichliim, because we're intellectuals. Ve'ein daito shel bnei adam shavos. If none of you intellectuals, if we're all morons, so every moron is a moron the same way. But if you're intellectuals and you think, then people think differently. So he says, if we're all morons, we don't get along. The problem is that we're intellectuals, so therefore we think about things. If we're all morons, we all succumb to the mass culture, and everybody would have possibly the same tastes, the same likes, the same dislikes, and everybody would be okay. Everybody would live together, kind of like in an ongoing drunken stupor. But because people think, or are supposed to think, so therefore they have different perspectives. Shivim panim l'Torah. There's 70, at least 70. So therefore, the moment you start thinking, the moment you start getting divisive. So he says, "V'yesh lovin." It says, "Alo pir levavos nechshav l'cheit." So what's going on here? When we're different, then it's considered to be a sin. By sheni nechla machma Sinas Chinam, and the second basement is destroyed because of Sinas Chinam. So it seems there's no greater shortcoming than this differentiation. So he says, you know why we came to this situation? We're supposed to be like this. It says, who don't argue each other, who don't become sonim zelazeh, they don't detest each other when they're arguing in learning, are not doing their job. And then they'll come to love each other at the end. But there's a process. First, you start arguing with each other, and you can even get nasty. As we know, in a good base marriage, people start getting nasty with each other, and they start throwing stenters at each other, because that's the way you have a good intellectual disagreement. But at the end, because we're all out to accomplish the same MS, assuming we are, so then we end up all buddy and loving each other. But he says, what did we use the great thinking personality of the Jewish people, right? That which has won us Nobel Prizes out of proportion to any other race or ethnic group. So what do we do with it? We use it for material gain, for material purposes, for material accomplishments. And then there comes to this strife and the hatred. If we're to use it for spiritual things, would have happened. I'm not spiritual, intellectual things. Like he brings out his chazal, which I said, the Esvei B'Sufa, they're going to love each other at the end. But in any event, he says the shortcoming comes from our high level and our disposition to be thinkers. So even when someone's answer, then it becomes obvious. Moshe Rabbeinu saw us in our tranquility. But we're in that tranquility, we are good arguers, we're good complainers. We might have gone wrong with each other, but we're still able to argue and complain and focus our thinking on material things which are lacking in the midbar. Moshe Rabbeinu saw already the seeds of what was going to happen later on. So Sinas Chinam doesn't necessarily come from chisus nefesh, from having a shortcoming, a lowness of soul and character. It can even come from a high place, from having a higher soul and character. But it's one which focuses, which can only be used properly intellectually. And that's why Chazal say, Kinat Soifim Tarba Chachma. Now, I understand Kinat Soifim Tarba Chachma, that the jealousy of Talmid Chacham creates wisdom is not a l'chatchila. It's not the preferred way. The preferred way is to do things with shalom. But that point can be argued. The point is that it's only supposed to be used by Sofrim, only in the base medrash, only for the purpose of clarifying what's true and what's right and what's intellectually sound and proper. The moment it's used for other purposes, everything goes awry. So Jews have a tremendous gift of profound analysis, of great scope, but all of that is very dangerous. Any mila which you have, any advantage you have of those, can also become very quickly a disadvantage and a shortcoming. Okay, so that's one shame Shmuel. We'll talk about this root of Sinas Chinam in our intellectual, our embedded trait of intellectual sparring, which is supposed to be used for good, then misplaced and used for bad. And then there's another one in the Parshas Nitzavim. In Parshas Nitzavim, here it is on page. No, it's supposed to be this page. Yeah, on page Shiur, the year 1909, 1905, so he brings in here that we and our great iniquities. To make golos, we are defiled by the golos. It's not easy to make unity in Am Yisrael. The very nature of golos is scattering. In other words, that Ashkenazim don't like Sfardim, Sfardim don't Ashkenazim, and nobody likes the Yekkes, and the Yekkes don't like anybody else. I'm exaggerating, I hope. But that the Satmars don't like Lubavitchers don't like Satmars, and neither of them like the Breslovers. Again, I'm exaggerating, I hope. But in any event, all these things are a result of Pizor, scattering. If everybody's scattered, then differences grow. And when differences grow, if the differences are not harnessed l'shem shamayim, they inevitably lead to all sorts of dysfunctionality. So he says, so it's not easy to unite over Am Yisrael. Because golus is scattering. Much like the Maharal writes, he says where it is, and that's in Yisrael Parak Aleph. The words Ga'al for redemption and the word Golah for exile are very similar. They both have a Gimel Lamed. One has the Alf, one has the Hey. What's the difference? Ga'al, in the word Ga'al, Ha'aleph, Be'emtza, Morel Isachdus. The Gimel and Lamed are united by the Aleph, which is usually normally taken to be Chido Shalom HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the unity of Aleph in the middle. Right, the achdus of echad. The golos he behei shebetzuras he dalid. The golos is with a hey at the end, which is a dalid with a little line attached to it. Hamora pizur laos, which indicates scattering to the four corners of the earth. El shetoyla bunikuachas is this one small line at the bottom of the hay. Wakocha me'echad shenishar od. That's the hidden force of Achdus, which even in Golos is there underneath the surface. And of course, we know, as this individual who had the conversation last night, this morning pointed out, when somebody Am Yisrael is in pain and anguish and difficulty, all sorts of people from all sorts of backgrounds will gather together to help that person. We all know, the organizations like Satmar Bikur Cholim in New York, which has a tremendously impressive and kind and benevolent attitude towards all Jews of all stripes. When at a certain point, Jews will come out for each other, and the final analysis, that underlying unity, which is often hidden, is still there. But we're talking about what's revealed, how it looks on the outside, not what's potential on the inside. It says there's between go out, but there's achdus and golah, where there's the fusion to the four corners of the earth. Uve'emes zeh atzmo shegorim sinas chinam. This is in of itself the scattering, which causes Sinas Chinam. She's still dancing among us. But Odom Begos, and therefore to unify Jews went in goes. Kadesh in order to redeem them, who dover kosher ma'od. It's extremely difficult. There's no way a Pete Tavel we're ever going to get out of this goes. Because it's extremely difficult. How can you create Achlus in Israel? And he's not particularly optimistic about this. He says the only way to do it is, so to speak, to hold out everybody else's hands and remove them from golos. Meaning to unify everybody in Klal Yisrael. And then when everybody's not so then there'll be kibush rabim. We'll be able to conquer, so to speak, Eretz Yisrael as one in the en masse. And then he brings down so what the Kotzker said. Everybody has to check out themselves as individuals, not as part of society, which makes no sense, right? We just said everything is about Am Yisrael. He says interesting and grandfather meant. You have to look at yourself. If you have, as an individual, the qualities which are necessary in order to make a unity of Am Yisrael. That's how you judge your worth in this world. When you judge your worth in the world and when you're feeling much of the world, is to the extent that you as an individual are either a force for or force against unity in Am Yisrael. And that's why we say it's not possible for an individual to assume they're going to bring the Geula. It's hard enough to assume the Geula is going to come as is. But what is my peace issue? What I indicate that I yearn for that Geula and I'm working for that Geula? The way I yearn for it and indicate it is by always checking myself out to see me. Am I essence? Am I capable of contributing to this? Or am I detracting from this? And he says that we already said the merit of our emunah in this long, bitter goes. That the days have become so long and we've lost all nevuos. We don't know anything what's going to happen. Like it says, I'm afflicted the entire day. I'm constantly being revisited with reproofs. Nevertheless, the bus goes on to him and says, different bus calls this bus. All this comes upon us. We haven't forgotten you. We haven't become false in our covenant with you. We never forgot the name of our God. We first and those are our hands out supplication to a foreign God. This emunah, he says, brings Am Yisrael eventually to reconnect as Klal Yisrael below, and it's Knesset Yisrael, which is a more Kabbalistic, esoteric concept above on high. So what we see here is that a person has to try and figure out in which way they add to Achdus and which way they detract from Achdus, and that's how we determine how, so to speak, accomplished the person is or not accomplished. And the way when you detract from Achdus, that's Sinas Chinam. When you add to Achdus, that's the antidote to Sinas Chinam. So when a person has always have in mind, how am I going to add to Achdus? Now, again, it's important. The same fellow I spoke to last night, tonight, he said he came early to Beis Medrash this morning, and he looked around and he saw people coming in one after another, and he thought to himself, how much I dislike this person, how much I dislike that person. And it's very easy to talk about Ahavas Yisrael, the loving Jews, in general. It's very difficult when it comes to Ahavas Yisrael on an individual basis. Because everybody have an excuse why, yes, I like Jews, but not this guy. This guy, no. Everybody else, yes. Oh, no, not this guy either. Oh, not this guy either. Everybody's people coming up with excuses for individuals. So he says, of course it's difficult. But that's not, the idea is not just that you have the theory of Ahavas Yisrael, but you have the way of practicing Ahavas Yisrael. And Sham Shafal Hirsch gives a very beautiful explanation of this in his commentary on Torah on Parshas Kedoshim, Perek Yutes, Pasuk Yud Zayin in Vayikra. in which he talks about do not hate your brother in your heart. So this is the new translation done by my cousin, among others, of Sham Shabbos. And he says the laws in verse 11 to 16 deal with relationship between fellow men in general. They teach us that we must not allow our words and actions to be influenced by indifference and avarice, that means pursuit of profit, and certainly not by malice, dislike. Rather, ever mindful of God's presence, we must measure all that we do and refrain from doing. We must measure all that we do and refrain from doing by the standards of truth and honesty, integrity and brotherliness. They are the qualities expected of God's people, and they should determine our path. Having presented the fundamentals of social life sanctified by Torah, Scripture now adds the content of these laws. Teach us how to relate to those of our brothers who forget their duty when relating to us, brothers who we might have thought have forfeited their right to dignity and love. To rule out such a thought, the holy and sanctified word of God declares, Lo tisno es achicha b'levavecha. This will explain much more. The assumption in this prohibition that our brother's behavior towards us is liable to provoke feelings of sinah in our hearts. Okay, this is very Hirschian, was about to say, because it's stated by Sham Shavuot says the soneh acts like a thorn. And that's why he says the word sonah, sin nun aleph, say to the word sneh, thorn bush. So an enemy is like a thorn in our side. By the way, other sources which I saw say that soneh is related to the word shonah, which means different. Somebody's shoneh, you don't like him. And that's they related to the word sheni. The second was the day of creation, in which divisiveness was created, the difference between the rakia being mavdil, separating between the mayim elyonim, mayim tachtonim, and that's why it doesn't say kitov on the second day, because the principle of divisiveness was created, which could bring all sorts of strife as a result. But here he's not using the language of shana, difference, but of sneh, of a thorn bush. That is, he rejects and repels his fellow man, whose existence appears to him as impediment to his own success. So why do you do this if you have Sinas Chinam? Because you look at your fellow man as impediment to your own success. Not that he's actually an impediment. No, you see him as impediment. Because if he's more successful than you are, that makes you not as successful. This is not true. But this is that, and he says, this is human tendency. Just a second. He wishes to get rid of him and to ruin him, even to the extent of ending his very existence. Such feelings are only natural in a heart not sensitized by the Torah. But they must not arise in our hearts. Even if our brother has done us many wrongs, even if by forgetting his duty to be committed to our welfare, he is unworthy of the name Reah. Fascinating. Reah is a higher madrega than Ach. And there's a chazal that says, Tov shochin karav mi achrok. It's better to have a near neighbor than a distant brother. But a friend, a Reah, is somebody who you actually have a relationship with in a positive way, and you help each other. So to speak, shepherd each other. Because Reah is from Lashon of Hirschian, Lashon of gray, of shepherding sheep. So, but there's even if it's not a Reah, you're not at that level of Reah Ma'uvin. There's a more basic and elemental relationship called Achim, brothers, that you have things in common, even though you don't necessarily have a relationship with each other. Thus, even our brother does many wrongs, even by forgetting his duty to be committed to our welfare. He is unworthy of the name Reah. Even if he is ignoring our rights, he has forfeited the rights to be an amis. It's another word used in the parsha there. In other words, Haviku rights with us. Nevertheless, there is one name he can never lose. He remains always Achinu, our brother, for all God's children. As Achinu, he too is Mu'uche. He learns Ach's language of woven together. Mu'uche means woven. Join brother to us through God. We are brothers, the children of one father, and for the sake of this one father, who still calls him his son and reserves for him a place in his house and his heart, Sinah must not arise in our hearts. There's an additional reason for the admonition Lotisno. The heart, led to its own natural emotions, knows also Sinas Chinam, unprovoked hatred. The admonition lo sisna in its all embracing formulation relates also to this kind of hatred. Unprovoked hatred is common among unrefined people. Boy, we're only unrefined people, we'd be in good shape. But unfortunately, it's also common among refined people. If their brother competes with them in the struggle for existence, which is what life consists of according to the modern worldview, we've come pretty close to the main point here, which is in the modern worldview, Sinas Chinam is totally justified because everything is competitive and everything is competition and everything is me climbing over the backs of my rivals to achieve success. So in such a society, of course, the default is going to be, I don't like you because we're competing with each other. And that comes across even when we're not really competing with each other, but we just imagine we're competing with each other, like the two Talmidei Chachamim or the two craftsmen. But that is the basis of this world. The assumption is that there's one person on top, and there's one number two, and one number three, and so on and so forth. And the higher I can get, the more accomplished I am, the more, I guess, happy or fulfilled I'll be. And therefore, it's legitimate to step on the other people on the way up. And they're going to try to step on you. It's a cyclical thing. Then even if he competes fairly, he nevertheless races with them to the same finish line. And by his perseverance and skill, he threatens to overtake them or force them to extra efforts. In their perception, this is sufficient reason to hate him, for he's an impediment to their success. And they hope for his elimination and complete ruin. Sinas Chinam, let us remember, is the sin that led to the destruction of the second temple. He says, again, there's nothing as effective as removing hate from the heart as idea implicit in the word achicha. Every man is a brother in God's house, in our Father's house. There's no place for hate arising from jealousy. That would be the antidote. If a person were to focus on the fact that we're all achim, unfortunately, that's not easy to do. But that would be the idea that, of course, even if he's not your rei, at least he's your ach. And since he's your ach, so therefore you should be happy if he succeeds and not be upset when he succeeds. You should be upset when he falls and not be happy when he falls. That would be the nature of a proper and good brother. I once heard as kind of a joke, it was a joke, the name of Nachman Cormel from an old friend of mine, Rafi Fink. He said that it seems a contradiction. It says one has lo sisnas achicha b'ovavecha, don't hate your enemy in your heart. The other says you should love your friend as yourself. So how do you reconcile the two? We want you to love, we want you not to hate. So obviously the Rosh already gave an answer. He said that there are levels. If you can love, then please love, but at least don't hate. But the way he translated is similar, but said from a friend we can expect you to love. A brother, we ask you, okay, and we know can't love your brother, but at least don't hate your brother. So the idea, though, is stressed here in the pasuk. Do not hate your brother in your heart. What does it mean? It means it's better to hate out in the open than to hate in the heart. The answer is yes, because when you hate in your heart, you bear a grudge. It's that Zohar, which says that it's always that roguish, the silent anger, and the silent anger is the one which is not dealt with and which is not repaired, and you might not even realize it's there. If it's out in the open, you can already deal with it. Rav Hutner wrote a letter to Talmud of his, and it's one line. Only one line appears from the letter in the collection of Hutner's letters. It says, "Dear Talmud, so and so, I want you to know I'm not moichel you. I don't forgive you, because you have to bring things out in the open. Otherwise, unless you're the biggest tzaddik in the world, they're going to fester and become worse." So therefore, you have to tell, and I think it's Rabbi Yerucham who says, if I come to you and ask Mechila and you say, there's nothing, don't worry about it. That's not Mechila. Mechila is to acknowledge that there was pain and work it through to the point that forgiveness is worth deserving. If you didn't work through that pain, he doesn't know about the pain, you don't want to admit the pain, and you say, forget it, it's nothing, that's not real Mechila. You still have the same problem. It didn't go away. You didn't make it take away the root cause, so therefore that mechila is worthless. And then Reb Tzadok, this is the last source, actually second last source. Sorry, we'll do it today. He also talks about the tikkun for Sinas Chinam. And he says, Esav, so the marriage says that Esav hates the blood. So Adam. So what does that mean? So the Tzadok says, Zel domo shel adam begufo. That's the blood of another person in his body. Hainu sheinenu sovel chiyus. There's a pretty tzaddik in Shmini, but Simites. Hainu sheinenu sovel chiyus miyeser habruim. So he can't tolerate the lives of other creatures other than himself. Where does it come from? Mitzad Akino, the Sinas Chinam. It comes from jealousy and Sinas Chinam. Zainin Chevlo Mashiach. And this is what happens in the generation of the travails of Mashiach. The Rashi explains in Shabbos, where it's put down here. He pays it. I don't know, somewhere in Shabbos there. That he says, it's the Kufi Ches, who talks about somebody who's on Onek Shabbos. He saved from Chevlo Mashiach. What's Chevlo Mashiach? Rashi explains that's like Suba says. Suba says, Dorshan ben David ba category of Tamil Chachamim. Generation when the Mashiach comes, there's going to be prosecution among the Tamil Chachamim. Suba's Pirish Rashi explains categoria harbei mastinim. The many people who stand and try and impede them, and try and they're going to come and say bad things. It will not be done. Look, They're going to see negative things about the Chachamim. And he says, amazing thing. It's because they are jealous of each other. That the people who come and cause the Chachamim to be detested, or people who come and they Mlamed Chayva and Tamil Chachamim, it's because Tamil Chachamim are jealous of each other. Bonim. Yeah, on the other hand, says that Tamil Chachamim are builders. Rav Shalom Banaich. They build truth. They build peace. They Ma'arim Shalom Ba'olam. They bring much peace to the world. They're involved in building the world, not destroying. They are the pillars. Olam Kayom. Upon which the world is sustained. What are these three pillars? So the pillars are not the three pillars we have above us, but elsewhere above us. It says, Emes, Din, just judgment, Emes, truth, and Shalom, and peace. And because there's this jealousy, which doesn't necessarily allow the Chachamim to get along with each other, so therefore they have to clarify themselves in all these matters. And there's also a place to prosecute them, because there's Sinas Chinam, which is why the Chorban came. So he says, what's the tikkun for that? Says, the famous Medrash. Medrash says, in Bereshis Rabbah, Periches, Emes Amar Al Yivari. Truth said, don't create man, because it's completely full of falsehood. Shalom said, Al Yivari, don't create man. He's always arguing. So it's fine. Masa Kushbaruch Lishlich Emes Arza. So it says, they're fighting back and forth for man created, not be created. The positive force, like Chasadim, they said, create man because man does chesed. But they're already back and forth. So what back and forth, so what Kushbaruch do? He shlich emes arza. He threw truth down to the ground. Behind him, that means Shofir Kushbaruch midas emes ba'aretz Hashem shown, radiated the force of truth to the world. By days of Mel Nasser Shol Gam came meet the Tamil Chachamim. And now, of course, also peace among Tamil Chachamim. Because each one's purpose, Rak Lasiga Emes is only to attain truth, and not to scoff at other people. And then he goes on to say, many basic arguments. Lonely knew they would not refrain from marrying each other and relating to each other. To teach us that they had love and affection for each other. The Kai Mashem to say, Phil says, by message love, peace, and truth. They should call her kavunasul emes. Since every one of them had his kavanah for truth, so even when they disagreed, they also had peace. This goes back to the Shem Yishmor. When all the machlokes comes from a good source, because it's supposed to use for positive purposes. And when therefore Hishlich Mishamayim Emes, Hishlich Emes Arza, HaKadosh Baruch Hu threw truth down to the ground in order to be able to focus on that truth, in order to accomplish true peace. Because if we're focusing just on accomplishing truth and not on our own personal purposes, then there will not be Sinas Chinam. And it was some of you know that I wrote several articles on Tells over the years, and then in Tells there was a secret society called the Agudas Emes V'Sholom, the Society of Truth and Peace. And Rabbi Avram Yitzchak Bloch, who's the son of the original Tells of Rosh Yeshiva, not the original one, but the famous one, he wrote an article in which he spoke about Emes V'Sholom. Not referred to the secret society by name, but Emes V'Sholom are really Moshe and Aaron. Moshe is Emes and Aaron is Sholom. And yet they have to work together. You can't have true Sholom without Emes. You can't have true Emes without Sholom. You can't have true, certainly can't be true unless it is peaceful, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching its peace. And therefore, you must have peace. If something is true, it must be peaceful. If it's not peaceful, there's some shortcoming in its truth or the way truth is perceived. And the idea is that Sholom also is incomplete without Emes. Right? Emes is incomplete without Sholom, and Sholom is incomplete without Emes. And he has a long piece on this, and at the end he says, Darkeinu hu. What's our derech? Derech HaSholom, the pathway of peace, the Tachlis Emes, for the purpose, for the ultimate goal of truth. Sholom l'rochel v'lakarov. Use Sholom to make those who are far close. Matraseinu, our purpose is La Pizza's Emes Teva, to spread truth all over the world. Yilduchamim Elokim, Yilduchamim Kulam. That all nations should recognize and establish their belief and awe of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the essential focus in all of our deeds has to be the unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning, as I said before, Am Yisrael has to be unified. It has to be unified by Hashem. The Geula is only when the Gimel and Lamed on the sides are bound by the Aleph in the middle. So the unity is the central precondition for the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash. And there is no Beis HaMikdash. There's no point in having a Beis HaMikdash. There's no unity. To cement the unity which Am Yisrael has. We don't have that unity. There's no point in having a Beis HaMikdash. The Sinas Chinam, which prevents a unity, does not come from the other person. It comes from myself. From my own feelings of inadequacy, my own feelings of frustration, from my own feelings of failure, especially from my own feelings of trying to not have to be grateful and behold to other people. Also, reasons to detest the other. True Aval is that when they succeed, I feel great. When somebody else accomplishes, I feel wonderful. This goes against the grain of American society in general, because Western society is based on competition, the rat race. Who's going to be better than the other person? So for either I win or I find reasons to assume that his win was not legitimate. The way that a person overcomes that is by remembering that everybody is an ach. We're all in this together. We're all children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're supposed to be working together. The greatest hana a parent has is when his children get together. They work. They're in harmony, as opposed to being separate and at war with each other. And the fact that we're in still in Golden State means we haven't fixed this at all. We haven't fixed anything. Lo tikanu klum. But like the Shem Shmuel says, Achdus of Am Yisrael is something which no individual can actually accomplish. And perhaps Mashiach, when Mashiach comes, I'm sure Mashiach not. But as Chazal says, the work is not for you to finish, but it's not for you to give up on and remove yourself from the playing field, from the battlefield, whatever metaphor you want to use. And also there's a chiyuv, it's a piece of Yeshua, to yearn for the coming of the ultimate redemption. How do we do that? By each person checking always themselves about where they fit into Hashem's master plan for Achdus in the world. are they a force for accomplishing this in whatever limited way they can? Are they a force for which takes away from this and causes the Gula to become further away? Shiur means I'm going to try and unify with others and be empathetic and sympathetic to them and understand them and encourage them and acknowledge them and be grateful to them. Then I've added my own brick in the building of Beis Hamikdash. If I don't do that, I'm taking bricks out of the walls of this to make it destroyed more. So therefore, if we come to sum up the nature of Sinas Chinam, the nature of Sinas Chinam is that which comes from competition, that which comes from strife, that which comes from a sense of shortcoming, but in and of itself, as the Shem Shmuel said, is rooted in our Mila, in our great capacity to become higher and better and more intellectual people. Every meat in this world has a positive and a negative. The fact that we're, in says the Shem Shmuel, we're intellectual, that's the positive. The fact we use it in order to make machlekes, that's the negative. So it's something which we'll have to be makabel on ourselves every Tisha B'Av again and again and again until Mashiach comes, because still now we haven't fixed anything, to work on our own yearning for redemption by working on our own Sinas Chinam, to try and eradicate it and to bring about the ultimate Go'al Yisrael with the Geula Shleim Me'evi Amen Amen. Thank you. Thank you. We're going next year to have a share on the Simcha of Tisha B'Av, not the Tainis of Tisha B'Av.